Okay, so the last few people are just arriving, but for everyone who has arrived already, welcome. Welcome to this STEM community live session with a focus on BBC Bitesize science in the curriculum. It's an absolute pleasure for us to have three judges. That's because I was at the Big Bang Fair last week and I've got judging on my head. Yeah, I've got three fantastic guests with us today who are going to talk us through various elements of BBC Bitesize and how you can incorporate BBC Bitesize into your classroom teaching and learning and into your curriculum. So without further ado, and taking up any more time, I would like to introduce Emma Till. Emma is the executive producer for Bitesize Secondary at the BBC, and over to you.
Hi everyone, great to be here today. So I'm here with Kate and Neil. Kate's part of the Bitesize team from a primary point of view, and Neil is a teacher consultant that we've worked with on a number of projects and knows the Bitesize content really well and how it can be useful for students. So in terms of what Bitesize is a prominent education brand. We had our 25-year anniversary a couple of years ago. Started off with TV programs, moved into web content in the late 90s, and since then we've gone from strength to strength, covering content for students, also now for teachers, and for parents as well, to support students through their school journey. So we have a whole range of content to support students from a STEM point of view. A couple of the pictures we've got there, we've got videos, we've got games, we've got podcasts, a whole range. So in terms of, so I cover secondary, so Key Stage 3 and GCSE. We have hundreds of video-rich self-study guides. These are all kind of interactive. They include quizzes. We've also got podcasts, games, and a recent addition is video playlists. So these are curated sequences of videos that allow users to sort of deepen their knowledge of a topic by watching videos, usually sort of 4 or 5 at a time. You can watch them one after the other to get that kind of seamless video watching experience. All our GCSE content is mapped to exam board specifications. I cover, my team are based in Salford, and we cover all the English exam boards. We also have teams in Glasgow, in Belfast and in Cardiff, covering all the UK nations. But all our content is mapped to exam board specifications. And from a science point of view, we cover what we call combined science and also single sciences, biology, chemistry and physics. Something that we're working on at the moment is a move towards a more personalised approach, so a personalised learning journey for every student. We've got a huge range of bite-sized content, and what we want to be able to do is offer everyone a tailored journey through that content. So depending which subject they're studying, which topics, but also where their strengths are, the areas that they need to build on. So this is a big project they're working on at the moment. And yeah, it's over the coming months, there'll be more on that. So in terms of secondary, a video's a huge part of what we do. I've got an example here from a production that we made last year. This is a series of videos that focuses on key practicals that you study as part of your GCSE course. They feature Alex Lathbridge, who's a biologist and science communicator, and Maggie Aderin-Pocock, who's a well-known space scientist and a science presenter as well. So I shall show you an example of what we do.
I think the slides seem to have stopped sharing, Emma. Sorry.
Sorry, can people see that, or has it gone? Did you say it's gone, Kate?
Yeah, it's gone off the screen, yeah.
All right, let me have another go. Cool. Can you see that now?
Yeah, we've got that one.
Yeah, great. Right, I shall press play again and hopefully we'll be back up.
Have you ever wondered how hand rub can kill off microorganisms on your hands?
Antiseptics and disinfectants are biocides that kill microorganisms such as bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Antiseptics are used for living surfaces like skin, disinfectants for non-living surfaces.
In our experiment, we're going to investigate the effects of antiseptic on bacterial growth. We're going to be using agar plates that have been inoculated with bacteria and measure the zones of inhibition around paper discs that have been soaked in different antiseptics.
The microorganisms we are using are not harmful to humans, but it's easy to accidentally grow harmful strains if you don't use good aseptic techniques. These techniques are vital as they limit contamination and should provide a sterile working environment.
To stay safe, it's also important to provide a suitable temperature to observe bacterial growth. In this case, our temperature is 25 degrees Celsius to avoid growing harmful pathogens.
This is the equipment you'll need. Do pause the video and take a look.
So first thing we're going to do is we're going to label the bottom of the Petri dish with the name and the date.
Now, light the Bunsen burner on the yellow safety flame close to where you're working. This will keep airborne microorganisms away from the immediate area. When opening the Petri dish, make sure you only open it slightly to avoid contamination, and always hold it away from your face.
Ensure that your equipment is sterile. Soak 3 filter paper discs in different antiseptics for the same amount of time. Now the fourth, your control, that's just paper disc in sterile water. This will ensure that the differences in bacterial growth can be linked to the antiseptic used. I'm going to label them.
Okay, so that's, I'll pause it there. That gives you an example of a recent video that really brings the science to life. Sorry, there we go. So in terms of Key Stage 3 science, we also offer Key Stage 3 science and maths. We have lots of content across the curriculum. Has it stopped sharing again?
Yeah, it's gone again.
No. Okay. One sec. Oh, is that back?
Yep, we're back
Yeah.
again.
Brilliant.
The joys of live television-ish.
Yeah, that's it. So we revamped our Key Stage 3 science and maths offers a couple of years ago. We've made the guides really interactive. We've added more videos. Something that we did a big piece of work on for science was around working scientifically. So developing those science skills from year 7 onwards that students need to be successful in their science careers as they go through school, and which might have been new to them as they made the transition from primary to secondary. We've also got the Atomic Labs game, which models the lab environment, and students can try out various practicals and experiments. You can kind of blow things up, heat things up, all in a safe and secure environment. Finally, from a secondary point of view, over the last 3 years, we've made a series of GCSE science podcasts. So these have been made as a co-production with BBC Sounds. They're available both on the Sounds platform and on Bitesize, and we cover biology, chemistry, and physics. It's a way of recapping the key information that you need for your GCSEs, but also includes lots of ways to make the information memorable. So it's kind of a conversational tone, a bit longer form than a lot of the content that we produce. Episodes are about 10 minutes. And it's kind of, I think what makes these different from, say, the videos that I showed recently is the conversation and the discussion and explanations that you can make a bit more of in the podcast format. So I'll play a short clip from this as well. So this includes some of our GCSE biology content, which also features Alex Lathbridge.
BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Dr. Alex Lathbridge, and this is Bitesize Biology.
Welcome to our Bitesize English Literature podcast.
I'm Isabel, and I hate to tell you this, but the learning styles theory you've been taught is actually a bit of a myth.
Women definitely weren't given the rights they should have been. Lady Macbeth doesn't seem to fit this stereotypical mould of the time, which is really interesting. She has a lot of ambition of her own, and she isn't afraid to show it.
Charles Darwin was a scientist who spent a lot of time travelling around the world in the 1800s, studying fossils and animals. He also ate a lot of them. The animals, not the fossils. It was mostly the giant tortoises, really.
All right, so one last time. My quote is, "My only love."
Cool. So that gives you just a flavour of what we offer for podcasts. We know that podcasts are a relatively new format in terms of revision. It's something that we're really looking to promote to teachers and students it's an alternative way to revise on Bitesize. So you can listen either at your desk if you're out and about, and all the presenters are scientists. They have an authentic link to science, and it's all our content is produced by teachers with input and review from teachers as well. And it's something that we keep updated throughout curriculum changes, specification changes, etc. So, and on that note, could I introduce Neil Dixon, who's a teacher consultant who's worked on a number of Bitesize projects. And our teacher consultants are a really important part of what we do. They tell us how the kind of things that students struggle with, how the kind of level of detail that you need for the different key stages. So Neil, is there anything that you could add in terms of the usefulness of Bitesize for school students and for teachers to recommend?
Brilliant. Thanks, Emma. It was fascinating to hear you say that Bitesize has just celebrated its 25th anniversary. That's just a tiny bit longer than I've been teaching. And I think I've been involved in contributing to Bitesize for most of my career. So it's funny to think that I might have been there quite close to the beginning. Bitesize has changed an awful lot in that time. And I think it's really, really important for the users of Bitesize, people in the science education community, and also students, parents, and so on, to really kind of appreciate the kind of constant state of evolution that Bitesize is in. It's not a static kind of resource like we would find in a revision guide or a textbook. It's something which does evolve. Of course, very, very significant evolutions during periods of curriculum reform, but also kind of a sort of a constant state of updating and evolution as well. And I'll talk a bit more about that later on. Emma mentioned the sort of personalization of Bitesize, and that's a kind of key thing, which is one of the ways in which Bitesize meets the needs of learners. So students can add topics to My Bitesize, and then that sort of takes them straight in there to sort of those pages. It's almost like a bit like a favorite system. But where students are using Bitesize across multiple devices, perhaps shared devices at home, or maybe especially when they use Bitesize in school, on school computers, that sort of functionality sometimes is not quite as neat as we would want it to be. For that reason, I tend to recommend to my students that they find the right page on Bitesize, not by going in through bbc.co.uk/bitesize. Now, as a Bitesize consultant, that might sound a little bit odd, but what I actually say to my students is simply Google Bitesize trilogy. So for us, we teach the AQA specifications in my school, and the majority of our students are doing combined science, and the combined science qualification or specification we follow is trilogy. So actually, if they simply type into their web browser Bitesize trilogy, it gets them right to the page that they want straight away. Navigating in through the Bitesize menu is by necessity a really complicated process, because of course Bitesize is just huge. It covers so many subjects and so many ages, and of course not just England, but the curriculum in Scotland, etc. So the ability for students to get right to where they want to be, it seems to be easier if you just sort of teach them to kind of Google the right kind of topic or the right sort of specification. What students and teachers will find is that the most exam-focused resources are at the top of the page, especially at this time of year. So we start off with things like exam-style quizzes, quick-fire questions and flashcards. Again, kind of evolving ideas in response to focus groups that take place on a regular basis, getting feedback from the students and teachers about how they're using it. And then the podcasts a little lower down the page perhaps, and then the curated video playlists that Emma's already mentioned. These are absolutely fantastic for revising topics. We know that over the years that I mean the 20 or so years that I've been teaching, students increased use of kind of multimedia and increasingly short form media has meant that they really do like to consume their science learning content in sort of small snippets rather than by reading extended pages of text content. So having things that are bite-size by nature as well as by name is really, really important there. So there's also been a move over the years away from the sort of static traditional multiple choice quizzes with feedback on each question towards more visual quizzes, and that's been a process of sort of constant renewal over the past maybe 5 or so years, and that allows us within science to have quizzes now which provide animations as part of the explanation, and novel quiz questions like dragging and dropping, sequencing, labeling diagrams, and so on. But if you think about some of the complicated physics calculations, for example, perhaps in momentum calculations, the ability to have an animated sort of worked answer with calculations that are changing on screen with a voiceover really has added a huge amount of kind of power to those resources. So I use Bitesize on a weekly basis, really with all of my learners at Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. One of the ways that I do that is not just signposting them to the correct sections, the targeted sections for revision, but I put a weekly homework onto our homework app for all of my Key Stage 3 and 4 and 5 classes, although the Key Stage 5 classes I don't use Bitesize, but the homework that I set for every group every week is 15 minutes of independent reading. That's different from revision. Of course, I set them revision homework when they're coming up for a topic test, but my attempts to try to get students to become more independent in their learning means that I want them to spend 15 minutes of their own time on self-directed study, and Bitesize is one of the key kind of places that I signpost them towards. For some of my classes, my lower ability classes, I'll include a specific link to a topic. For my triple science students, perhaps my higher groups for combined science as well, I'll just give them a topic and I'll expect them to go and find where they want to, to get their information from. But Bitesize works really well for me with that ability for students to take greater autonomy over their learning. It's a system that they find easy to navigate. And it really does improve their confidence in their ability without them having to potentially embarrass themselves asking for help or support in class with their friends, their peers, their teachers, and so on. It's that credibility, I think. I think that underpins everything for me with Bitesize. Other revision resources are out there. There are some good revision sites out there as well. But you know, when you've got the kind of the background of the the BBC and the brand and that just that genuine credibility that it's been written by expert consultants, by qualified teachers with many years of experience. I think that's one of the reasons why Bitesize really has stood the test of time. So in addition to independent learning on a weekly basis, of course, I signpost it on our homework app for revision for assessments. I've also experimented with writing specific quizzes on our homework app, which relate to a video on Bitesize. So I can post a direct link to a video and say, I want you to watch this video, and then after that, here are 5 or 10 questions which I've written, and I put the answers in, and then our homework app just provides the marks straight for me into my mark book, which is quite handy. And then also using it in lessons as well. So there'll be some lessons where, we get a set of laptops out and students are working in pairs to research a topic, maybe to produce a PowerPoint presentation or a poster. And I'll typically direct them to Bitesize in the first instance because, I have a lot of confidence in the quality of the text and the quality of the images and the diagrams. I think it just helps to know that students are looking in the right places and getting the right kind of verified facts. I think the final thing I'd probably say about the way that Bitesize continues to evolve, or 2 things really. The first is an exciting new sort of range of resources which really are meeting that short form video style. So I've been privileged to provide some input into some very for want of a better term, trendy, really short video clips with really, up-to-date presenters who are out there already on social media and are demonstrating science practicals in a really short form, like with kind of homemade equipment in the back garden and the kind of idiolect and language which will really relate to young people. So it's great to see Bitesize experimenting with and moving into that sort of super short form TikTok style of video in some cases. And the final thing really is just to reassure all of you out there involved in science learning that the Bitesize content, the resources and so on are in a constant state of review and fact checking. And one of the things that we do as science consultants for Bitesize is when audience members, either children or adults, teachers or parents, click the button that says, query or report a fault or whatever, and then they type in a comment that says, you've got this calculation wrong, or you're missing you've got a subscript when it should be a superscript, or the labels on this diagram are round the wrong way. That stuff does get checked, and it comes through to people like me, and we look over it and we say, yeah, actually, somehow that slipped through the quality assurance net. So if you're out there and you spot something that's a mistake on Bitesize, please do let us know, because we take a lot of pride in the resources on there and are keen to kind of continue to correct them where necessary and improve and develop them.
Oh, thanks so much, Neil.
Yeah, bit of an overview.
Yeah, that's really useful to hear, like from your point of view, how you use it as a teacher. And so I'll pass to Kate now, who can talk through some of the offer that we have for primary students.
Yeah. So just while that's loading up, I'm just going to share my screen with the slides on. Hopefully you can see that now. Is that coming through okay?
Yeah, we got that.
Great. So I'm an assistant producer working on the primary side of Bitesize. So I'm just going to give a little overview of the STEM content that we've got on our primary website. So the last year or so, we were focusing on updating our maths and science content. So for maths, we've added approximately 200 interactive guides and updated existing guides. And those include 39 guides per year group. So there's one for each teaching week in the school year. And those include 8 hours of step-by-step video. So we've trialed a new format this year where we've got sort of an interactive video that has a quiz embedded in it. So you'll see a sort of a short section of video that will step through a mathematical concept and give you a couple of questions afterwards to sort of test your knowledge. And then it'll build on that concept with another short video and another couple of questions. So it's a really sort of immersive experience, and it steps the learner through that journey sort of step by step. And the method that has been used throughout those guides is the up-to-date method of learning maths in line with the National Centre for Excellence for Teaching Maths. So as we've mentioned, through all this content, working really closely with the educational consultants to ensure that it's the most up-to-date learning. So lots of quiz questions in there to sort of test knowledge. And we've also added 2 new games as well, 2 new educational games for Key Stage 1. So those are looking at, we've got a Space Shoppers game that looks at understanding money, sort of learning how to count coins and notes and calculate change. And then the second one is called Canine Crew, and that one is looking at measuring mass. So looking at standard and non-standard units of measurement and solving problems involving mass. And then just going on to our science content, we've also got 3 new games across both Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. So the first 2 games focus on one of our characters, Seymour Science, who, if you're familiar with our content, you'll have seen him in a couple of animations, and I'll show a short clip of him later on in the presentation. But the Key Stage 1 game looks at seasonal changes, so different changes in the weather, daylight across the different seasons and the different sort of animals and plants that you'll see. The second Seymour Science game is aimed at lower Key Stage 2, and that's looking at light, sound and electricity. And then we've got another game that's going live very soon, and that's been built in collaboration with Horrible Science, and it's looking at Earth and space, and that's aimed at upper Key Stage 2. So as part of the sort of science update last year, we revamped over 140 of our learner guides. So those are sort of packed with new illustrations and downloadable activity sheets that can be sort of done at home as homework, or they can be done in the classroom as well. And they include over 50 new live action videos as well, including some featuring the One Zoo 3 brothers. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but they've got their own CBBC series and their own sort of zoo, and all the videos are focused on sort of animals. And there are also 22 new guides that have been built in collaboration with Horrible Science as well. So they're all available live on the website at the moment. And then also fairly recently, we've added design and technology as a brand new subject to our offering that we didn't have a presence for before. So that includes 50 interactive curriculum link guides for Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. And there's over 30 live action videos and animations involved in those. So there are lots of different types of videos. So there's a lot of skills-based videos covering things like how to use a junior hacksaw safely, how to sort of peel and chop safely. And there's a lot of animations sort of inspiring children to get involved in design and technology, and looking at links to sort of further career opportunities down the line, things like what does a chef do, and what is a prototype. and then some explainer videos as well to sort of really delve deeper into some of the more complex topics around things like what is a CAM, and where does food come from, and to just sort of break those concepts down a bit. And again, like all our other guides, lots of quizzes, lots of step-by-step guides, visuals, and glossary terms as well, just to help the children to understand some of those more complex terms. So this is just a short sort of walkthrough of one of our maths pages. So this is sort of the home page for Key Stage 1 maths. This is sort of the new offering that we've got, just to give you a bit of an idea of what that looks like. So it's all sort of split down into topics, all colour coded. And then the quiz there is the concept that I was just discussing, where you've got sort of a video followed by a series of quiz questions. Lots of nice visuals, just breaking that down for the children. And then it follows on from the theme. So this is looking at finding a quarter, for example. So there's lots of like worked examples, and then the opportunity for the children to answer their own questions as well, based on what they've learned earlier in the guide. So that's just a walkthrough of what one of our learner guides might look like. And then this is just a short clip of one of our design and technology live action videos, just to give a bit of a flavour of what that looks like. So this one's around sort of how to chop wood safely, just to show a short clip. Stop that there, because I know we're not short on time, but I was just going to show a little short clip of one of the science games as well, just so you can get a flavour of that. So I'll just stop sharing. Hopefully that's coming through now. So this was one of the games that I mentioned that's aimed at low key stage 2. So this is Seymour Science with his friends, and the concept is that they're sort of making their own show, and as part of that they're learning about the light, sound and the electricity that they'll need to use to build that show. So I'll just go into the game.
Seymour Science! Play! Lights!
Skip through this introduction so you can see more of the game.
Click or tap on your favourite topic to begin.
So the children can choose which topic they want to go into in whatever order they like, and also teachers can set a specific topic for homework if they like, if they're focusing particularly on electricity on that week, for example. I'll just go specifically into one of the mini games so that we can
Resume. Hank's left some really cool stuff here, but what does it all do? I can show you. All of these pictures are devices that allow electricity to pass through them. They are called components. There's a cell, which is a power source, a motor, a light bulb, a buzzer and a switch to turn things on and off. For the components to work, they have to be part of an electrical circuit. A circuit is a complete loop that allows an electric current to flow through it. Let's try and design one. Can you make a circuit that will light a bulb? Click or tap the circles to try different components. We have light. Can you change the circuit to add a buzzer and a motor? Click or tap the circles to try different components. Nice! Everything's working, but it's not very powerful. Which component can be changed to add more power? Click or that's it! Brill! Awesome! Whoa! I think that might be too much power! Pause.
That's just a little flavour of one of the games, and you can step through. There's various different levels in that game, and step through the different topics. Yeah, so all our games are available on our Bitesize primary games page, and I can post the link in the chat box as well.
Oh, thanks very much, Kate. I shall pass back to Tim.
Hello, me again. Hang on, I should probably spotlight myself now as well, shouldn't I? Put myself up into the middle somewhere. Then you can see me as well. Hopefully that's worked. I love that little game. That little game looks so much fun. And from an accessibility perspective, pardon me if I'm wrong, but from an accessibility perspective, did I also spot that Seymour had a hearing aid? It did
Yes,
look.
he has. Yeah.
I love that. I love that touch. That is kind of, for want of a better phrase, normalizing, showing that is, absolutely, an everyday thing. And it really, I just love seeing that type of accessibility and things like that. So thank you. Thank you from that point. Right, question time from our audience. So we've got a mixture of primary and secondary teachers and educators within our chat. So please do fire some questions into the chat. I believe we may have one already from Louise, who is sitting in there, and we've just got one come through from Matthew, actually. Matthew, I'm a primary teacher, and we often use short videos during lessons to complement the learning and break up in the input methods. No, this is how we use it. Obviously, I have limited time, and this only works with games that can be done via quick voting and teacher controlling the computer. Yes, it's obviously the time constraints can be a bit hard, but those short games certainly look like they might be able to address some of that. Question from Louise: would you ever consider moving into post-16 qualifications outside functional skills? I suppose that one's to you, Emma.
Yeah, thanks, Louise. Yes, we do offer functional skills. You might know that already from your question. We're always looking at the age groups and the qualifications that we cover. At the minute, we go from reception up to GCSE, but we're always reviewing like what's most useful for the audience, best use of the license fee, payers' money, etc.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And another question for you, Emma. Someone sent me this one on a direct message. How can I use Bitesize as part of my teaching?
So I think, yeah. So from a Bitesize point of view, Bitesize resources are aimed at students. So kind of our primary focus is on students using them outside the classroom, sort of explaining that, if you haven't understood something in class, you're looking for some extra support with homework, revision, etc. Come to Bitesize, and we serve you that information in lots of different ways: videos, games, podcasts, written content, etc. We do have Bitesize for Teachers, previously called BBC Teach, that provide classroom resources. So loads and loads of videos with some with information on how you can use those in class. There's also live lessons, which is part of what we offer for teachers. So lessons, sort of broadcast lessons across the year on different subjects. So I know like the Science Day one is always big. And so yeah, so Bitesize is primarily aimed at students, like from like some of the information that Neil shared about how you can signpost your students to Bitesize and how it can be useful for them to follow up what they've learnt in class with some of the videos. So for instance, the video that I shared with the practical science lesson, when we were planning these, we were thinking like students have to cover all these practicals, they have to know them all ahead of their exam. What if you missed a lesson or your experiment didn't work? Or you did it in year 10, you're now at the end of year 11 and it seems a long time ago. It's that kind of thing that I think can be really useful for teachers to know about so that they can signpost students. And like with the podcasts as well, for instance, it's something that we know some teachers set for homework. So listen to this podcast, this couple of episodes, to help you revise a certain topic, and then come back tomorrow and tell me what you've learnt.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. That certainly does seem to provide some great opportunities for flipped learning, which I know Louise is a particular fan of, and some other people that we have in the audience as well. A question from Andrew. I find that quite a few of the computer science links I used 2 or 3 years ago no longer work, and searching doesn't find the pages. Has the content been pruned or is it being revised?
Shall I take that one? Yeah, we're always refreshing our content, both in terms of the actual of what we cover in terms of curriculum coverage, but also like we have over the last couple of years, we've got a new page format. So you might have noticed, if you know Bitesize quite well, our newer page format has a left-hand nav so that you can more easily get to the content that you need. So yeah, we do. I mean, we don't keep content up forever across the board. Where it's been superseded because of curriculum changes, or it's needed refreshing because it's out of date, or just looking a bit dated, we do retire things. But if you've got any particular areas that you're looking for, just drop the Bitesize feedback email a line that I posted earlier up, and we can direct you to where the content that's relevant is.
Perfect. Thank you. Question point from, oh, crikey, my chat's just jumped down a million miles. Scrolling back up. Question from Lucy. We have a waste education website where we direct teachers to relevant videos on materials science. Can we link directly to the video as we do for YouTube? I suppose there's a bit of a technical question around where you have a video embedded within a unit of Bitesize. Is it possible to link directly to the video or to the page that the video is on?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely link to the page. All our videos are streamed rather than downloaded, but you're very welcome to link to Bitesize pages.
Perfect. Iftika, yes, the recording of today's session will be on the STEM community. I'm actually halfway through a 2-day first aid refresher course, so it will be on Friday because I won't have the opportunity to do the edit of this tomorrow. But by the end of the day on Friday, it'll be hosted on the STEM community homepage. Another question from Stevie. How can Bitesize be used for an ambassador to improve a presentation? Oh, that's an interesting angle. So we have, as part of our organisation, we have our STEM ambassador program, who are people who work in industry, who go into schools to work with young people to show industrial context behind behind their learning, behind the topics that they're learning out in school. So can you think of a way that that might be useful? Might come back to that question because there's puzzled faces.
So I think, I mean, I can pick that one up if you like.
Yes, thank you.
I think the important thing there would be for the ambassador to know which particular areas of the specification their presentation or their sort of topic work based in schools is going to link to, and so liaising directly with the school, with the head of science or the science teacher, to say what syllabus are you studying, what topic is this. Then that will help the ambassador to navigate to the appropriate pages within Bitesize, because as Emma said earlier on this afternoon, one of the key strengths of Bitesize is that it is very, very, very tightly curriculum linked. So we avoid learners accessing content that is not relevant to them, that isn't going to be in their exams. So I would recommend that for anybody who isn't based in school on a day-to-day basis, but is going to use Bitesize when they're working with specific groups of students who are all from the same school, it then follows that all those students from the same school are likely to be following the same specification. So finding the particular links, and then you'll be able to navigate through the Bitesize menu system to get to the appropriate content.
Perfect, thanks. And yes, I suppose it would help with ambassadors pitching their talk at the correct level. Sometimes it can be a bit hard for a STEM ambassador who doesn't have knowledge of where they should be pitching it to actually know what is the key language that young people need to pick up on, and what are the key kind of applications that they're likely, because I know we can't say what they will be assessed on, but what are the key applications that they're likely to be assessed on around these applications of their knowledge. Fantastic. So just checking down the chat, we've had a couple of people who said they'll to go. That's good. Emma's sharing some very useful email addresses in there for you. And have we got any more? Just check my email as well. Oh, that's closed the window. That's never clever. There we go. So what further developments are there planned for Bitesize?
Oh, yeah. So in terms of secondary, I think moving towards a personalised experience is a big part of what we're doing at the moment. And I think generally sort of tailoring content to what students need. So we already at GCSE provide content across different exam boards. We also think about the way that people like to take information in. So like we have podcasts, like Neil mentioned, the range of quizzes we have. So we've moved beyond multiple choice into, like, we now have audio in quizzes, video in quizzes, lots of different options. I think it's about making content that really works for students in different ways, and also so that you can, you might revise something using a video, and then you might sort of support that with playing a game. It's like having these different ways of getting support with your schoolwork. Kate, is there anything to add from a primary point of view? I know like games are an enormous part of what primary do, and we've moved into them in secondary over the last 5 years, but like primary have a really great range, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we are looking at sort of expanding the games year on year. I know they are popular with our students, and the teachers like to use them, either setting them for homework, for example, or they might want to focus on a specific topic within a lesson, or in smaller focus groups as well, just smaller one-to-one sessions or sort of small groups of students. So that has gone down well, and it can just help sort of bring to life some of the topics as well that have been taught in class. So that really helps to complement the learning in the classroom as well.
Just picking up, if I may, on a comment from Karen in the chat about STEM ambassadors also working with home educated children. So, you're absolutely right there, Karen. It's, an invaluable contribution to, to every young person, and where Bitesize, really supports that well is because, it is so easy for the young person to navigate their way through, and they can proceed with their learning at their own pace, with support from whichever adults are there to support them, STEM ambassadors, parents and carers, medical education teams, etc., and sometimes teachers from school. If the young person who's learning at home is working towards an examined qualification, as most of them will be, then they'll be able to tell you, or their sort of linked school will be able to kind of tell you what qualification they're working towards. So that will kind of help to support the STEM ambassador working with home educated learners. And if they're not working towards a qualification, or if they're unsure of their qualification, please be reassured that the overlap between the different science syllabuses at Key Stage 4 is enormous because of the way the secondary curriculum has been designed. So rather than worrying too much about whether they're studying EdXL, OCR or AQA, just plug into whichever one you come across first, and the resources in the most part are actually very, very similar, often identical between the different sections of Bitesize.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Neil. And a question that's quite up to speed with everything that's going on at the moment in the world of tech. Are there any plans to incorporate AI support into Bitesize for those wanting to query more content? So adding in maybe an AI assistant or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think AI is something. Not just Bitesize are thinking about, the BBC generally and the media industry. Yeah, I think there's definitely potential across digital education to make use of AI. And if you sign up to the newsletter, any kind of developments in this area, what we can offer the students and how we can harness the technology, that's something that we would include in there as well.
Perfect. You heard it here, folks. Sign up to the newsletter, and you will get all of those updates. Going out on a wing here, because I think Greg has put in a question, which I put in here. Are there plans to expand into construction trades? Now, I suppose, as I said in the chat, would that link through to vocational courses and T-levels? Obviously, we've got the launch of a lot of new T-levels coming through, technical levels at A-level equivalent. And obviously the new government has got a real clear focus on skills development and technical skills in particular. So is that an area where, sorry, Emma, this is possibly something you're not able to answer immediately, but is that an area that you're looking to expand into?
I mean, at the moment, our focus is on primary and secondary, but as with the sort of conversation about A-levels, vocational training, etc., it's something that we're always looking at best use of license fee money, what's useful in terms of the audience, and the wider picture.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, we have come to the end of our time. I don't know where that hour has gone, but we are now approaching 5 o'clock, and the last thing I want to do is come prevent anyone from getting away from work or from dinner. Thank you all, Neil, Kate and Emma, for your time this evening. It has been absolutely fantastic to have you here for the last hour to talk about how educators and home educators and others can incorporate BBC Bitesize into their learning and teaching. I do have a cheeky one to put out, and I'm going to put a message in the chat. And that is an exciting opportunity for anyone who's not aware that on the 27th of June, that's this Friday, we do have a last few places available for our STEM Digital and AI conference in York. There is a link in the chat if you are interested in booking onto that, then please do click that, follow the instructions if you would like to come along. But as I say, that is this Friday, so it's a last cheeky push. But in the meantime, to Neil and Kate and to Emma, thank you so much again for coming along and sharing your knowledge and your experience as well in the classroom. It's fantastic to see, we've got people at the chalk face, as it were, talking to us about how these can be implemented across education. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you to all our participants for all their questions and everything. It's been a wonderful session, and I shall bid you all a very good evening.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.